In a quiet little village surrounded by green fields and dusty roads, there lived a young boy named Ethan with his grandfather, Samuel. Their house was small, with a wooden door, an old tin roof, and a backyard where his grandfather grew vegetables. Ethan was 18 years old, but he had already started believing that his life would never amount to anything. Every morning he watched other young men leave the village for the city, carrying bags filled with dreams. Ethan wanted to do the same, but whenever he thought about leaving, fear stopped him. He kept telling himself that he wasn't smart enough, brave enough, or talented enough. His grandfather noticed everything, but he never forced Ethan to talk. One morning, Ethan was sitting under a large mango tree, staring at the dirt road that led out of the village. His grandfather was nearby, repairing an old wooden chair. Ethan finally said, "Grandpa, I feel like I'm going nowhere. Everyone else is moving forward, but I'm still stuck here." His grandfather stopped working and looked at him. He didn't give Ethan a long speech. He simply asked, "Do you know why this tree is still standing after so many storms?" Ethan looked up at the huge branches and said, "Because it's strong?" His grandfather smiled. "No, because its roots are deep." Ethan didn't understand what his grandfather meant. He looked at the tree again. His grandfather placed the hammer on the ground and said, "When you only look at the branches, you think the tree is lucky. You see the shade, the fruit, and the strength, but you don't see the years it spent growing roots underground." Ethan remained silent. His grandfather continued, "Your life is the same. You are looking at everyone else's branches while complaining about your own roots." Those words stayed in Ethan's mind all day. That evening he watched his grandfather working in the garden. The old man planted a handful of seeds in the dry soil. Ethan laughed and said, "Grandpa, those seeds won't grow quickly. You'll have to wait a long time." His grandfather smiled and replied, "Exactly. That's why most people never plant anything." The next morning, Ethan asked his grandfather, "What if I try and fail?" His grandfather handed him a small shovel. "Then you learn where you planted the wrong seed." Ethan asked, "And what if I fail again?" His grandfather smiled. "Then you plant again." Ethan shook his head. "What if I fail 10 times?" His grandfather looked straight into his eyes and said, "Then you will have 10 lessons that someone who never tried will never have." For the first time, Ethan decided to stop waiting for his life to magically change. He started helping his grandfather in the garden every morning. After that, he began learning skills from old books his grandfather kept in a wooden box. He practiced writing, studied business, and learned how to repair farm equipment. At first, nothing seemed to happen. His friends laughed at him. Some told him that he was wasting his time. They were leaving for the city while Ethan was still working in the dirt. One afternoon, Ethan became frustrated. He threw his notebook onto the ground and said, "Maybe they were right. Maybe I'm wasting my life." His grandfather picked up the notebook, wiped the dirt from its cover, and handed it back to him. Then he pointed toward a tiny plant growing beside the fence. "Do you see that?" Ethan nodded. "That plant was almost invisible a few weeks ago," his grandfather said. "If you had judged it on the first day, you would have called it useless. But life doesn't work like that. Some things need time before they show you what they can become." Months passed. Ethan continued learning. He made mistakes. He failed small projects. He lost money on his first attempt to sell repaired farming tools. But instead of quitting, he tried again. His grandfather never gave him money or solved his problems for him. He simply gave him something more valuable: patience. One winter morning, Ethan received a letter from a company in a nearby town. They had seen some of the tools he repaired and wanted to give him an opportunity to work with them. Ethan couldn't believe it. He ran home holding the letter in his hands and shouted, "Grandpa, I did it!" His grandfather was sitting outside the house drinking tea. He smiled and said, "No, my boy, you started it. There's a difference." Ethan sat beside him. After a few moments, he asked, "Grandpa, why did you always believe in me when I didn't believe in myself?" His grandfather looked toward the fields and quietly replied, "Because I have lived long enough to understand something. A person can lose money. A person can lose a job. A person can even lose years of their life. But as long as they are still breathing, they haven't lost their chance. Ethan looked at his grandfather and smiled. Years later, Ethan became successful. He left the village for a while, built a career, and eventually returned home. But he never forgot the mango tree, the old garden, or the wooden chair his grandfather used to repair every morning. One evening, Ethan found his own young son sitting under that same mango tree, looking at the road and saying, "Dad, I don't think I'm good enough." Ethan smiled. He sat beside his son and looked up at the branches. Then he said, "Do you know why this tree is still standing?" His son shook his head. Ethan smiled and answered, "Because its roots are deep." And in that moment, Ethan finally understood what his grandfather had been trying to teach him all those years. Sometimes life doesn't give you a second chance by changing your circumstances. Sometimes it gives you a second chance by changing you. So if you feel like you are behind in life, don't be too quick to judge your progress. You may not see anything happening yet, but your roots could be growing deeper every single day. Keep learning. Keep trying. Keep planting. Because one day, the people who laughed at your small beginning may look at your life and wonder how you became so strong. And when that day comes, remember the lesson of the old mango tree. The strongest trees are not the ones with the biggest branches. They are the ones with the deepest roots.